Hi everyone, welcome to another video with me, Tanya Ross. I'm going to take you through a resistance band workout which is mostly going to be focusing on the upper body again. So in terms of our series, this is our level 3. The movements are just a little bit stronger, but in saying that, you are always in control. So you can choose your resistance and the colour of the band, green being medium, black being heavy, and maybe either a yellow or a red, for example, which would be a lesser resistance. But you need to check that out in terms of different makes of bands or different colours, different intensities. But you can also choose to put very little elasticity onto the band or a lot, so that it changes the intensity level as well. So just bear that in mind on the way through. I'm just going to work with green on the way through for all movements. There is an option certainly on the leg movements that you can change it up to a stronger band. But just for continuity, I'm just going to keep with the green. So we're going to set you up first of all for the squats. So in terms of that, again, I want you to be focused in neutral spine. So if you haven't watched the first 2 videos, I would definitely recommend going through them. But we're going to set you up into neutral, which is that midpoint between your 2 pelvic tilts. If you find that hard with straight legs, then bend the knees a little bit if that encourages your movement. But once you've got your mid position, I want you to notice that hopefully something feels tight in the lower tummy, and that's keeping the core engaged on the way through. And you're always connected to the floor with your feet, and I don't mean loosely. When you push your feet down into the floor to stand tall, that also should help to cue your core to come on in. So we're going to take you into squats. So placing the band underneath your feet, and then the little fingers in together holding the band, but not rounding the shoulders, keeping them connected behind you. So the feet around about hip distance apart, and take your weight backwards. Weight onto your heels, drive through your heels, squeeze your sit bones together as you squeeze up. So again, take the weight back, and then it comes forward. Sit bones open, sit bones close. And all the time you're pressing through the floor to drive up. And it's an in breath on the way down and out breath on the way up. In breath down, out breath up. Knowing that at the bottom of your movement, that you know your ribs are in and the core is in neutral. So we're typically aiming for somewhere between 10 or 12. I may be misguided on the way through. Very difficult to count and do this at the same time. So I must be the only female that hasn't been born with multitasking. But in terms of the number of repetitions, just keep working. Keep squeezing the sit bones together as you come up so it opens up the hips. So I would say we're probably close. And then from there, we're going to take it into the dumb waiter. So that movement, you can cross the band over, or you can leave it the same. You're going to take your elbows by your sides, and if you go with the palms up, it just brings that wee bit more of an awareness of external rotation of the shoulders. Elbows pinned in by your side, knees soft, and then taking it open. Now as you take it open, you want to get a sense that you feel a little bit of resistance. This is not one of the stronger movements. This is just warming up the shoulders and making you feel that connection at the back of the shoulders. You can also do this just holding the band in your hands, as opposed to underneath your feet, and that way then you'll get a stronger resistance. So maybe if you're going to repeat this whole series 2 to 3 times, maybe up to 3 times, then as you get stronger in the second set and more warmed up, then you could certainly just take the band between both hands. Okay, so hopefully you're feeling just that you're getting a little bit warmer around the back of the shoulder blades, which whenever you get that extra squeeze and you take it out, there's no opening of the rib cage. You're just feeling it around the back of the shoulders. So with the next movement, uncross the band, and it's always your preference what you prefer, whether it's crossed or uncrossed. We're going to start with the arms forward, about 45 degrees, making sure that you have it leaned back, knees are soft, and we're going to do between 10 to 15 circles, taking the arms out so that you finish beside the side seams. When we get out there, those 10 to 15, elbows slightly soft, shoulders being pulled down your back, and making sure that as we come forwards again, they don't round forwards. You're still keeping your shoulders connected on your back. So once we've done there, then we're going to repeat the movement, but we're going to start from out to the sides. And again, soft knees, shoulder blades being pulled down your back, and slowly circles 10 to 15 to finish hands in front of shoulders, and then change direction. Breathing steady on the way through, don't forget. Okay, so then from there, again, that's getting a lot of the different parts around the shoulder. And we're going to take it into 90 degrees this time, so a little bit more work being done on the shoulders. It's just knowing when you pull up that your shoulders don't go up and that you don't lean back and you don't kind of sink in at the hips. So we're going to do arms to 90 degrees roughly, elbows soft again, starting, moving out 10 to 15 circles. And as we take them out, you should definitely be feeling core is working because you're trying to stand tall still into the ground, or always wins. If you know me, you know that. And then from there, reversing the direction to come forwards. Core wins again. Shoulder blades are pulling down your back. Okay, so then we're going to go the same again, but starting out to the sides. So we're coming forwards, again feeling that pull of the shoulder blades down your back. Your shoulders should definitely be getting warmer. And then change direction. 10 to 15. Okay, so then we're coming into biceps, elbows facing forwards and then coming up. So if you need more resistance, you could switch the band, or else you can grab further down the band. I'm just going to keep it consistent on the way through, because at the same time there's a training effect in that of not stopping on the whole way through. Knees still soft, ribs still in, pressing the heels into the floor so you still feel tall. Shoulders connected across your back. So making sure that you don't feel like you're arching. So if you're going for a heavy resistance and it feels like it's getting hard, you may start to compensate. So we're going to take you onto tricep kickbacks next. So you're into that squat position again, elbows nice and high. So weights back onto your heels, neutral spine in the midsection, and you're long from your tail to your top of your head. Elbows pinned in behind and press behind. You can also do this one with the band crossed, which sometimes gives a wee bit more resistance. But again, you can always hold further down the band if you need more, or further up if you need less. Elbows are staying fixed. Little fingers are pressing long behind, so your shoulders aren't collapsing. They're always pressing down the side seams and slightly together. So again, between 10 to 15, you should be feeling it in both triceps. You start to feel on the way through that one side is working harder than the other. Put your emphasis and your concentration into the side you don't feel as much. So the next movement we're doing, it's like a ski movement. We're going to be taking, the movement comes down into a squat and then we go up. Now with this movement, I want your wrists to be nice and strong. Depending on how much tension you're putting into your band, your wrists might start to go into like awkward angles, and I want you to be nice and long the whole way through. So it's down into that squat position, weight back onto the heels, drive it up. If you keep your knees bent for longer, it makes it slightly easier on the arms. But again, we're going 10 to 15. It's a dynamic movement. You're still squat pressing. Drive your heels into the floor. Draw the core in, shoulders down your back. So again, making sure all the way through, press the heels into the floor. Drive the sit bones forwards and upwards, core in, shoulders pulling down your back, and in nice and strong. Okay, so that should get the heart rate up a little bit more. So we're going to take it into the next dynamic one. We're going to be going across the body. So you can alternate arms on the way through, or you could go 5, 6, 7, whatever, one side and then the same on the other side, so that you're matching it to even on both. I tend to go alternating, but I might not demo that on the way through, because I'm trying to teach, count and everything at the same time. Again, multitasking is not my forte. So we're across, we squat, the arms come out. As they go out, the thumbs turn and pivot out, so that we drive up, slight bend at the elbows, and we finish, again, hands above shoulders, shoulders down in the sockets, making sure we don't arch at the top, and then control the arms back down again, and then the thumbs cross the body. But that's the slow version. So we're down and up. So drive through the legs. Keep the elbows soft on the way through. Make sure the core stays in strong. The tighter you get, the more of a temptation you'll have of your ribs wanting to flare and your shoulders wanting to creep back up to your ears So intentionally pull them down. Okay. And I'm hoping your wrists are still strong through that one. Now, same applies as to the squat ski. Okay, coming into an upright row. Again, feet hip distance apart roughly, knees soft. With this one, as you're coming up, I still want you to keep a sense of being strong through your wrists. The tendency is for them to droop down. You're going to pull up against the resistance. As you pull up, elbows go wide. It's like a shower door opening and closing on a rail. It runs up, almost like a set of straps running from your shoulders to your hip bone. So slowly up, slowly down on this one. This is one where very often the shoulder blades start to round forwards. So as you're coming up, I want you to think about the shoulders being pulled wide apart. And the same when they go down, still wide apart, but shoulder blades squeeze down your back on the way through, up and down. So you're trying to keep almost like your wings tucked in. And that way, hopefully, we avoid too much internal rotation in the upper arms. Okay, so at this point, if you did need a heavier band, to move on to the next exercise, we're coming into deadlift. So you could switch to a heavier band for this because it's mostly leg work. So if you're finding that the resistance that you have it's suitable enough, you probably would need to go up to a heavier band. But you could also grab a little bit lower. Same idea, little fingers connected together. Feet hip distance apart, knees soft. As you bend into it, don't bend the knees any further, but don't lock them out. The back is long, the tail to the top of your head is lengthening. Drive your hips forwards and upwards. And again, that's driven by pressing the heels into the floor. So press the heels into the floor, strong upwards. Press the heels into the floor, sit bones move forwards. And again, the same applies as on the squat. When we fold, the sit bones open. As we press up, sit bones close. And also, shoulders are not rounding. You're keeping them drawn in, keeping the ribs connected in, so the core is fully active. If you do feel it's on the back, you don't have to go down as low, or you could certainly repeat squats as opposed to deadlift action. Almost squeezing the legs together at the end. Okay, take one last one. And the last movement, I'm just going to grab a little bit lower down the band. Again, I would probably recommend that you move up to a heavier band on this one if you're finding that you need that for the leg work. So I've taken a bit of a grip lower down, knees are still soft, spine is tall, the band is pulling me down, it's lengthening here, I'm actively lengthening, and then I'm actively contracting as this side lengthens. So I'm contracting on the way down and lengthening on the opposite side, and then doing the opposing work as we come up into standing. So we're just working one side, and again, it's not about the drop down. It's more about the lift up. Your weight's still centered between both feet. And this way you should feel it more down through the waist, rather than if your hips start to move or maybe a knee starts to bend. Lifting up through your center as you come back up. Again, so the core is always an intentional part. It's part of the technique. Okay, so then to change sides, again, you can grab lower and feel it pull you down, feel it stretch the long side, shortening the other side, and then actively contract the long side. Again, actively contract. Think about lifting from your center all the way up the top of your head. So you're feeling it directly into your side, and your weight's still even between your two sit bones, the knees are still soft, kind of absorbing and just keeping the leg muscles active. Breathing on the way through, you'll find your own breath pattern, but again, it might be an out breath whenever you feel the effort, like an out breath there, in breath as you shorten, out breath lengthen, in breath shorten. Okay, last one, and release. So in terms of those movements, again, I would recommend doing 2, maybe 3 sets on each of those, taking a short break in between, maybe for example 2 minutes, and that way then if you repeat the full set again, it's definitely going to get your heart rate up. And in terms of the strongest movements are the ones where they're dynamic, taking in the ski and squat and the cross T up and over. So in terms of those, I want you to make sure that you do feel pretty warm beforehand. Stretches afterwards, again, you could come through chest stretch, just kind of clasping the hands or placing them on the bottom and squeezing the elbows together so that you open out and hold until you feel that first release. If it feels very tight, maybe hold it for longer than that. And then we could bring arms across in front, so we reach into the outer shoulder and the back of the shoulder. Again, go to a point where you feel a suitable stretch, not painful. And then you're holding it until again you feel your first ease. There's not a set time limit on it. One side could be tighter than the other. We all have different, one side being dominant over the other, one side being stronger over the other. So the muscles are different, so they respond differently. So the more you pay attention not only to your technique when you're doing things, but also what information your body tells you, it's definitely, it can make you train more specifically and stretch more specifically as well. Once we get an ease in through there, then we can take it into triceps. So taking the arm up and over, taking a hold of the elbow, either pulling it behind, you could push from in front if your range of movement's a bit limited. But again, once you take it into the stretch, if you want to bring a wee bit into the lats as well, you can take that into a side bend if you need a little bit more. And again, trying to relax into it and getting a sense of whenever it eases. So certainly if you were repeating this a few times, you wouldn't have to do the stretches in between. You would just leave those to the end, unless you do feel like you're really tightening up or potentially cramping. So in which case you could do them in between within that 2 minutes rest. But if that was the case, I wouldn't hold them for any longer than 10 seconds in between, and then leave it at the end when you finish to hold the stretches for whatever length of time it takes until the muscle eases into it. So this has just been a short sample of movements that you can do with the band for the upper body that hopefully over the progression from level 1, 2 and 3 could give you a good workout. And certainly what you could do is do one set from the level 1, one set from the level 2 and one set from the level 3 if you wanted that variety and building in terms of intensity, or else you can do each individual workout in their own right. I definitely would recommend that you don't do these every day. If you were going to do them maybe every other day, so that you're not training the same muscle groups. For example, 2 days in a row, they do need recovery time, so it's always good to give them that and see how you feel the next day after a workout to see whether the intensity and the volume was appropriate for you, or whether you need to go up or maybe you need to pull back a little bit, or maybe you just need to stretch more afterwards. But hopefully you find this video useful and the exercise is useful. If you have any feedback, please leave me some feedback. It's always good to hear any responses of what I can do better, what more information I can give you, but also in terms of other videos and things. Hopefully there'll be more up soon, so yeah, check them out, and if you would like to give forward any suggestions, then I've always got open ears and see what I can do. So in the meantime, have fun with the workout if you're doing more, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching.